Hello. We chose your presentation on Medtronic Incorporated, traded on the New York Stock Exchange as MDT. Medtronic was founded in 1949 by Mr. Earl Bacon and his brother-in-law Palmer Hermonsley. At the time of the company's founding, Earl Bacon was a graduate student in electrical engineering at the University of Minnesota. On the side, he repaired delicate lab equipment at a hospital in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Soon, healthcare professionals were asking him not only to repair existing equipment, but to design and produce new equipment. An integral first step which propelled Medtronic into the mainstream as a medical device manufacturer was a result of a 1950s interaction between Mr. Bacon and Dr. C. Walton Lougheed, an open-heart surgery pioneer at the University of Minnesota Medical School. Dr. Lougheed and other surgeons discovered that heart block occurred after corrective heart surgery in about 10% of their patients. External pacemakers existed at the time to help regulate heart rhythm, but these devices were extremely bulky and relied on external electrodes. Also, they had to be plugged into wall outlets so that any time a power failure occurred, the device would shut down. There was one documented death that resulted from such a blackout. Mr. Bacon worked with Dr. Lougheed and his colleagues to develop a pacemaker that was powered by batteries and about the size of a paperback book. It was a leap forward in the treatment of heart block and other cardiac conditions. By 1960, Medtronic had produced the first implantable pacemaker, and within 2 months, already had 50 orders for the devices. Over the years, the company adapted additional technologies for the human body, including radio frequency therapies, mechanical devices, drug and biologic delivery devices, and diagnostic tools. Today, the company's technologies are used to treat more than 30 chronic diseases affecting many areas of the body. The photo on the slide depicts Dr. Lougheed with a child who received one of Medtronic's early external pacemakers. This slide shows a photo of the original headquarters of Medtronic. The building is located in St. Anthony, a suburb of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The company moved into its present world headquarters in the 1970s. This building is located in Fridley, Minnesota, another suburb of Minneapolis. Medtronic is the world's largest medical device company. The firm, as stated before, is headquartered in Fridley, Minnesota. Currently, a deal is in the works to move the corporate headquarters to Ireland as a means to provide tax benefits. The operational headquarters will remain in Fridley, Minnesota, though. Medtronic is a Fortune 500 corporation ranked 173 this year. The firm is ranked ninth among companies based in the state of Minneapolis, followed behind such companies as United Healthcare, Best Buy, Target, and Target. Estimated revenues for Medtronic were $16.6 billion in 2013. The company's staff consists of 49,900 total employees. 5,900 of the employees are scientists and engineers who are instrumental in developing and designing novel medical devices. The mission statement of Medtronic is to contribute to human welfare by application of biomedical engineering in the research, design, manufacture, and sale of instruments or appliances that alleviate pain, restore health, and extend life. This mission statement was developed by Mr. Bacon back in 1960. Medtronic has operations in 140 countries. In addition to its headquarters in Minnesota, there are regional headquarters in Ontario, Canada, Tokyo, Japan, and Gladesville, Australia. The headquarters for Europe and Africa, as well as the Middle East, is located in Switzerland. As mentioned previously, plans are in the works to move the corporate headquarters to Ireland. The business units of Medtronic have a leadership team consisting of managers, scientists, engineers, and medical doctors with expertise in a given area. The cardiovascular unit produces devices such as implantable pacemakers aimed at correcting abnormal heart rhythms or rates, Significant advances have occurred since the development of the first electrical external pacemaker. Other cardiac devices are heart valves, stents, and stents used to treat patients with coronary artery disease. The gastrointestinal division produces instruments used in minimally invasive abdominal procedures, as well as devices that produce neurostimulation for patients who have paralysis of the stomach or intestines due to conditions such as diabetes or previous spinal cord injury. The general surgery division produces instruments such as laparoscopic tools used for minimally invasive abdominal and pelvic surgeries. The orthopedic and spine division produces surgical drills and other tools used to perform surgery on various types of bone pathology. The endocrine division produces a high quantity of implantable insulin pumps used to treat diabetes mellitus. This slide shows a collage with a sampling of the myriad of products that Medtronic sells worldwide. Some of these products are mentioned on the previous slide. This is a list of Medtronic's executives at present. The acquisition of Covidien, a biomedical device and supply firm out of Ireland, has led to some proposed changes yet to be enacted. This slide shows the board of directors as it stands at present for Medtronic. The principal competitors for Medtronic include St. Jude Medical, Boston Scientific, Johnson & Johnson, GE, Siemens, and Stryker. The level of competition between Medtronic and these firms varies based on the individual product. As a whole, the medical device industry is shifting towards quality over quantity in accordance with the Affordable Care Act of 2010. The act includes a $20 billion tax on the medical device industry, along with a 2.3% excise tax on total revenue. Increased tax burden is the resulting effect, leading to many smaller firms struggling to survive taxation. Competition in the medical device industry will increase due to decreased margins related to higher taxation and pricing pressures from group purchasing organizations and healthcare organizations who are looking to decrease their own costs by buying medical devices in bulk. As a result, medical device companies will shift from building relationships with individual physicians and facilities to connecting with larger healthcare organizations. Companies in the medical device industry also must implement a unique device identification system on all devices by 2010 in order to be compliant with the FDA regulations. Adding identification systems to devices is an additional cost with no direct financial benefit for the firm, aside from avoiding fines by the government. Eventually, the cost will be seen as one prerequisite to doing business in the medical device industry once it's fully implemented. This slide starts with a SWOT analysis. One of the strengths of Medtronic is its experienced research and engineering personnel. An important part of maintaining a group of skilled employees is the firm's recruitment activities. Each year, the company attends career fairs at major universities such as MIT, Northwestern, Stanford, and Vanderbilt to recruit biomedical, computer, mechanical engineers, as well as material science majors. Additionally, the firm has summer programs for MBA students and a leadership program geared toward recent graduates. Medtronic has a myriad of products across the various business areas mentioned earlier. The large product mix allows for response to the encroachment of competitors into any particular market. The well-being of the company is not dependent on the sale of any particular product. Instead, steady revenue results from reliance on a wide range of products. Medtronic has international branches that allow for better serving the healthcare community in a given region. Morbidity and mortality for disease vary from place to place. Creating products in the same ratios is not a worthwhile cost-effective endeavor. For this reason, supporting the need for this reason, the need for staff attuned to specific needs of a region is a must. Weaknesses. High research and development costs exist for Medtronic and other biomedical firms. Failed products are a consequence of the nature of the industry, in which companies depend on innovation as a means to remain competitive. Some opportunities include continuing expansion into foreign markets, particularly Central and South America. Additionally, Medtronic has the ability to continually develop new products to meet the specific needs of consumers in various markets. Strategic partnerships with healthcare facilities and academic centers have potential to produce a guaranteed consumer base and provide a steady flow of researchers to be involved with projects. Threats. One of the main threats for Medtronic is the increased government regulation associated with the Affordable Care Act and healthcare insurance providers who have preferred algorithms of treatment for various medical conditions. Whether or not a particular medical device is covered by insurance ultimately limits its profitability, since the majority of patients are not self-pay consumers. Threats posed by competitors developing better quality products or entering into new markets in which Medtronic was previously the only player are also worthy of consideration.
Thanks, Jerry. Hey, this is Sam, and I'd like to go over 3 subjects with you: tacit collusion, Porter's 5 forces, and strategic alliances. Tacit collusion. When I think of tacit collusion, I think of firms independently refraining from competing with each other so as to protect their own margins and therefore improving their profits. When I think of a generic example of tacit collusion with Medtronic, I think of the pacemaker market that Medtronic operates in, and in that market they have several firms that make practically the same device, and the margins in that market are relatively high. Now, if Medtronic wanted to take a competitive advantage of a cost saving or a low cost provider of pacemakers, they could do so and therefore gain a majority of that market, but they don't, and neither do any of the other firms in that market. And this could be an example of tacit collusion in the general sense, but I'd like to go into a specific case of tacit collusion in regards to Medtronic. The Federal Trade Commission agreed to a consent decree approving Medtronic Incorporated almost 10% passive stake in Cerviva Link, one of the only 2 rivals of Medtronic's subsidiary in the automated external defibrillator market. This shows direct tacit collusion in that there's a conflict of interest with a competitor in a small market that Medtronic already has a subsidiary in. This could give Medtronic privy knowledge to pricing that Cerviva Link has, other issues that could be conflicting. And overall, what this does is it raises the prices on consumers, and altogether it could be highly regulated if abused. Porter's 5 forces identifies 5 different threats a firm could have. A firm could have threats from suppliers, could have threats from buyers, could have the threat of a new entry into its market or industry. The firm also could have threats from rivals within that market or industry, and the firm could also have threats from substitutions of its product. The first threat that we will cover in Porter's 5 forces is the threat from suppliers. There are several firms that provide the basic raw materials Medtronic uses for its products. The components that are not widely used have typically 1 or fewer buyers, which gives them a lot of leverage, them being Medtronic. We believe that the threat of suppliers is moderate. The reason for this rating is that the threat from suppliers that compete in a highly competitive market have to reduce price. Therefore, Medtronic gets the best price possible for that product. We also believe that in the smaller markets that deal with more of the technical components that Medtronic uses, the suppliers that supply those units more than likely have very little leverage in a price negotiation with Medtronic, since Medtronic would probably be the majority buyer in those markets. The second threat that we will cover in Porter's 5 forces is the threat from buyers. Very few firms offer what Medtronic can provide. From a pacemaker to an O-arm surgical imaging system, buyers have a very limited spectrum of products to choose from when it comes to these highly specialized products. Since Medtronic is in an industry that is an oligopoly, they have most of the power when it comes to pricing. Therefore, we rate this threat from buyers as weak. And this is specifically due to how technical and advanced some of the Medtronic devices are and how limited buyers have options in those markets. The third threat that we will cover, these are the challenges that a new firm would face if they entered the market that Medtronic occupied. Medtronic has over 28,000 patents and some of the most sophisticated technology in the world. There would be a large gap for a firm to overcome if it was to enter this market. Other challenges would include creating distribution channels, an investor base that would have to wait several years before earning any kind of profit. And these are all due to the technicalities in which Medtronic operates in. And this is why we believe that the threat from new entry is weak. For in Porter's 5 forces is the threat from entry. The fourth threat of the Porter's 5 forces that we will cover is the threat of rivalry. Medtronic has 4 major competitors: Johnson & Johnson, Abbott Laboratories, Stryker Corporation, and St. Jude Medical. It is possible that one of these larger competitors, like Johnson & Johnson, could gain market share from Medtronic. The companies are very similar but offer different niche products. Since the market is consolidating, it is possible that Medtronic could be acquired by a larger firm. Therefore, we assume this threat of rivalry as very strong. The fifth and final threat in Porter's 5 forces is the threat of substitution. Most of Medtronic's products have no modern substitutes. The only threat of substitution for Medtronic is that the healthcare system becomes so expensive that patients that would have before been able to buy the product with their healthcare plan can no longer afford them. In today's environment, this threat could reduce Medtronic's margins and incentive to invest capital in ventures with smaller niche customer bases. For that reason, we rate the threat of substitution as moderate. Strategic alliance is the third and final section I will be covering. A great example of a strategic alliance is Medtronic and DaVita's team up to fight cardiac episodes. Research is needed to better understand why patients on dialysis are prone to cardiac episodes. In order for Medtronic to better understand this phenomenon, DaVita's patients will be given a Medtronic heart monitor that will not only help the hospital detect a patient that is in trouble, but help Medtronic gather the information it needs to help reduce these issues. The DaVita's joint venture is a great example of a win-win. DaVita's patients receive top-of-the-line technology to monitor their conditions, and Medtronic gathers a large test sample to test their new products. They are not in competition with each other, so there is not a fear of losing competitive advantage. The project has a set timeline, therefore eliminating the risk of one side abusing the other. Now that we have concluded the sections of tacit collusion, Porter's five forces, and strategic alliances, I'd like to thank you for your time and hand the rest of the presentation over to Fanlin. Thanks.
Thanks, Sam. This is Fanlin. I will talk about cost leadership and product differentiation strategy. Medtronic doesn't pursue a cost leadership strategy for its competitive advantages. Instead, it focuses on product differentiation and economic value to stay competitive. We can see that its greatness is built on three rules, as described by Michael on Harvard Business Review. First, better before cheaper. Medtronic doesn't compete on price but compete on value. Market dynamics encourage Medtronic to add as much value to their products as possible. Second, revenue before cost. Medtronic drives its profitability with higher volume and price, not lower cost. It invests in innovation, incurring higher costs to generate long-term sustainable revenue. Third, there are no other rules, so only follow rules 1 and 2. The gross margin for Medtronic is currently very high, coming at 77% in its first quarter of 2014. Medtronic has the highest gross margin within medical equipment and supplies industry. The higher margin indicates that Medtronic is not like Walmart that's trying to win its customers based on low margin and cost leadership. However, part of its high margin is due to its cost reduction efforts. In order to improve efficiency and make the company more competitive in emerging markets, Medtronic plans to reduce cost of goods sold by 25% over the next 5 years. In its prior 5-year program from fiscal year 2008 to 12, Medtronic has already cut $1 billion in cost. The next effort is expected to save another $1.2 billion. The savings have come from a number of initiatives, including designing for reliability and manufacturing, lean manufacturing, developing a comprehensive manufacturing strategy, and working closely with its suppliers. Second, it focuses on improved efficiency in selling, general and administrative expenses. Third, Medtronic has built research and development centers in emerging markets such as China and India. Lowering product costs plus investments in other regions will drive Medtronic's ability to deliver low-cost products in the emerging markets around the world. This slide shows Medtronic's current products. This is from the presentation by Medtronic's CFO in an investment conference. Medtronic pursues a highly differentiated position in the market for medical devices. Medtronic has created value across multiple markets with a common product platform, and by diversifying its portfolio with innovative offerings. It leveraged the electromechanical technology of modulating physiology through electrical current to address spinal, gastrointestinal, and neurology disease. Though Medtronic's product portfolio has always been anchored in cardiac rhythm disease management, it has diversified into other areas to tap additional growth. Today, Its cardiac rhythm disease management products represent 29% of a $17 billion revenue. Medtronic tries differentiation through innovation and acquisitions. It spends around 8 to 9% of its revenue on research and development for new products. Its products command a significant price premium because these products excel in their complexity of design, engineering, and manufacturing. Medtronic currently holds the number 1 or number 2 market position in every major product category that the hospital cardiac line administrators manage, which makes it a very attractive option for bundled product offerings. It also continues to acquire new technologies and products to provide a broad range of therapies. Medtronic also expands its services to provide integrated health solutions in addition to its products. In late 2013, Medtronic announced the formation of its Hospital Solution business, a unit that is managing cath labs for European hospitals. Medtronic is also introducing its Rethinking Blood Conservation as a service program to help hospitals reduce their blood usage and related costs. Similarly, it completed an acquisition of Cardiocom, a telehealth and remote monitoring firm. With the Cardiocom acquisition, Medtronic is seeking to expand into disease management. It gives Medtronic the ability to complement its own suite of products and offer differentiated economic value to hospitals by helping to reduce readmission risks through chronic disease management. Medtronic also developed patient management tools to provide connectivity solutions that help patients access and organize cardiac device data for optimal and efficient patient care. This slide is also from Medtronic's presentation. Medtronic also tries to differentiate its products by focusing on economic value. The focus on economic value ties directly back to the fundamental healthcare needs of improving customer outcomes, expanding access, and optimizing cost and efficiencies. Medtronic has traditionally differentiated its products by generating evidence to demonstrate clinical value. Moving forward, the clinical value of its products will continue to be important, but an additional focus will be on translating clinical value into its corresponding economic value, which is meaningful to a broad set of stakeholders, from physicians to hospital administrators, peers, and governments. Now, I will hand over to Jenny.
Thank you, Fan-Lun. My name is Jenny, and I'll be talking about mergers and acquisitions. Medtronic's divisions are located outside of Minnesota were all acquisitions. Because of this, there are 3 California offices, 2 in Minnesota, and 1 in Florida. So as they acquired the different groups that make up the company, they were existing companies located all over the country, and their headquarters remained there. So far, their acquisition strategy has worked well for them. Medtronic is currently in the process of acquiring an Ireland company called Covidien for $43 billion. This Covidien deal is Medtronic's largest acquisition and its first international acquisition. Medtronic is looking to expand its market, increase globalization, increase revenues, and reduce costs. This acquisition is an example of a related acquisition for the purpose of market diversification. Covidien has an expansive portfolio of surgical solutions, vascular therapies, and patient self-care products that would help enhance Medtronic's portfolio as a whole. Medtronic would be bringing organization-specific assets under one company. As far as globalization goes, the U.S. healthcare market is growing at about a 2% rate, whereas outside the U.S., particularly in emerging markets, the growth rate is 12 to 19%. The newer, larger company will have distribution channels in 150 countries, expanding Medtronic's current reach. Covidien is a $10 billion company in revenue, and 50% of that comes from outside of the U.S. With Covidien's added market lines, Medtronic stands to increase revenues. While there are benefits, there are definitely some issues with this deal. It's very large, it's international, so we have a few problems. And a few facts that I'm going to let you know to begin. For one, the U.S. corporate tax rate is 35%, whereas the Irish tax rate is 12.5%. Medtronic sought to save billions a year by moving their business address to Covidien's headquarters in Ireland. This is called tax inversion. The U.S. federal government has changed the laws to prevent Medtronic and other companies from seeking to move their headquarters to a tax shelter. The new regulations will charge a repatriation tax on money in Medtronic's foreign accounts that are being used to finance the deal. The new regulations will cost Medtronic an extra $16 billion, but they are still going through with the deal, citing that using Covidien as a tax shelter was just an added bonus to their strategy. Ireland is changing laws, too, to keep the revenues from being earned from the business address in Ireland to flow immediately back into the United States. Basically, the U.S. does not want to lose tax money, and Ireland doesn't want to lose the revenues that would be pouring back into the United States after locating the company in Ireland. Both are changing the rules to deter Medtronic and retain as much money for their respective countries as possible. One can wonder whether continuing with this deal will still yield increased economic value for Medtronic, or if this is a case of managerial hubris. Talks of this merger were highly public, so there's a chance that the company wants to continue to save face after their plan was rejected and reacted to by a tightening of federal regulations. This deal has angered stockholders as well. Medtronic investors think the price of the merger is too high and complain that switching their stock over to the new company will create a taxable event. Also, several retired Medtronic employees cite that they will not reap the benefits of the newly joined company because they will be pulling their money out for retirement very soon. On the other hand, the Covidien stockholders complain that this deal was not done properly by the U.S. and Irish regulations, and that they should have taken bids from more companies that would have made the price higher, and they would have gotten a better deal for their stock. So basically, both governments and both stockholders are not happy with this deal. Nonetheless, the acquisition is still happening. While Covidien and Medtronic operate in the same general industry, medical technology, their market-leading products are in different areas of the industry. The FTC would consider this business deal a market expansion merger. As such, the federal government is not concerned about antitrust laws because Covidien is not necessarily a direct competitor of Medtronic. As previously stated, Medtronic currently has three groups: cardio and vascular, restorative technologies, and diabetes. Covidien would be its own separate group, except for one department that would be moved under restorative technologies. As of now, the current CEO of Covidien will remain president of the Covidien Group under Medtronic. It will operate as an independent branch of the company under the umbrella of Medtronic. When the deal is finalized and the groups are settled, Medtronic will have around 90,000 employees, which is double their current size. Not only will this acquisition expand their market, but it will also drastically increase the internal resources used on administration, staff, and management. The second topic I'd like to talk to you about today is vertical integration in healthcare. The entire industry of healthcare is moving towards vertical integration. With cuts on reimbursements for Medicare, independent physicians are facing tightening bottom lines, and big corporations are looking to increase their revenue streams. Hospital systems are buying up physicians' offices, so it's no surprise that other areas of the industry are integrating too. In 2010, Medtronic acquired Cardiocom, a firm that develops patient monitoring systems. This acquisition would be downward vertical integration, as the product is used directly by the end user. The Cardiocom system is an implanted system, constantly monitoring patients' vital signs and uploading data to the cloud. The data is then aggregated to develop patient statistics and develop patterns about care and outcomes. This example of vertical integration falls in the category of hierarchical governance. Not only does Medtronic now control the sale of products further down the value chain, but also the data accumulated by those products. The value added for Medtronic here is not just an additional revenue stream in the same field, but a way to incorporate primary research as patient data to use to improve their research and development efforts. Also in 2010, Medtronic acquired Invitech, a company that develops cardiovascular medical technologies. Invitech itself is a vertically integrated company in that it designs, develops, manufactures, and assembles its products. Cardiovascular care is one of Medtronic's core technologies, so having Invitech on board increases the length of the value chain. This example of vertical integration is opportunism because Medtronic saw the value of being able to control each step in the process of its cardiovascular care unit. Cardio technology is both expensive and lucrative. It will have to endure costs to govern the new addition, but the strategy is that having Invitech as partners is better than having them as rivals. From here, Jared will inform you about the problems Medtronic is currently facing.
So I'm going to get a little deeper into the problems that Medtronic is facing. As you can see, I have three kind of key problems highlighted here. Rebounding from the recession in 2008, as most Fortune 5 companies have had to do. Innovation and growing their market share. One thing in the medical technology space, you must always be innovating. If you want to stay on top of the game, if you want to keep your place as one of the top producers of medical products and technologies, you always have to innovate and you always have to continue to grow your market share. So Medtronic has thought of ways to grow their market share and continue innovating, and I'll get into that in the few slides upcoming. And also we want to talk about complications from their impending merger. So they're currently in a merger deal with Covidien, and this deal must clear their shareholders. Shareholders have not voted on it. That will take place in early 2015. And they have some current tax issues that they must overcome as well that were previously mentioned in the presentation. One of the bigger issues that Medtronic has been facing this year is a patent lawsuit brought against them by Edwards Life Sciences. Edwards is another medical technology company that produces products for a wide variety of medical services. So earlier this year, Edwards took Medtronic to court over a patent for their transcatheter heart valve. Medtronic produces currently their core valve heart transcatheter system, and Edwards says that Medtronic infringed on their patent. So after a long court battle, Medtronic did actually lose that case, and they were forced to pay Edwards $1 billion for infringing on their patent. Now, the $1 billion wouldn't occur all at one time. It was a $750 million payment up front, and there will be recurring payments going through the year 2022. Now, I assume it could have gone a lot worse for Medtronic, being that you're losing a patent suit, but still having to pay $750 million up front and then a recurring $40 to $60 million payment for the next few years is not something that the company was looking forward to. So, it's definitely an issue that Medtronic will have to kind of keep in mind when they're innovating with their new products and technologies, not to infringe on anyone's patents. I guess this is kind of a big learning lesson for the company. One of the lesser known issues that Medtronic is going to face this year and in the coming years is the implementation of the Affordable Care Act. Now, most of us are already familiar with that and the boom that it's going to bring to the healthcare industry. So with the influx of new patients and new medical providers and that sort of thing, Medtronic will have to continue to innovate, and they're going to expect a larger increase in the needs for their services and technologies. As you can see on the chart, the U.S. national health expenditures are projected to continue to increase with the full rollout of the Affordable Care Act. So Medtronic can definitely kind of hop on this boat and, gain some more of this market share and revenue, but they must also be innovative in their approach. They must continue to innovate new technologies, new products, new services to keep up with the demand, because the demand is definitely going to increase with all these new patients wanting their services. So they're kind of position themselves in a way in which they'll be ready for it, and they'll have the innovation there. They're definitely innovating now. They're working on new ways to continue to innovate and continue to bring out new products. So we shouldn't see too much of a slump from Medtronic, and we shouldn't see any big issues with them trying to keep up with the demand. The last current issue I want to discuss is Medtronic's business strategy. So they've got a lot going on right now with their current merger. They're going to be moving their headquarters overseas to Ireland. So that's definitely something that'll play into their future business strategy as far as how they do business with their headquarters not being domestically located in the United States, but overseas in Ireland. Another thing we want to kind of look at is if the shareholders will kind of approve of their move overseas in this entire merger deal. It has not been voted on by shareholders, as I mentioned earlier, so let's see what the shareholders have to say when it actually comes to vote. It's expected to pass, but you never know with these type of things. Medtronic will also have to implement Covidion's technologies, their employees into their current system. So what Covidian has built, Medtronic will have to take those pieces, take that market share, build it into their own platform, and continue to grow that market share. There are a lot of countries that are used to Covidian's technologies, and how will they take to Medtronic purchasing Covidian and Medtronic putting their name on the Covidian brand? They built these trusting relationships with Covidian, so now they'll have to switch their allegiance to Medtronic. So we'll see how that all turns out. Now I'll move on to Medtronic's current strategy, and as you can see, the strategy has three main focuses: therapy innovation, globalization, and economic value. We'll get a little deeper into those in the upcoming slides. So for Medtronic to stay on top, as I mentioned earlier, innovation is a big key in their strategy and how they do business. So with this merger coming up with Covidian, it's definitely going to make Medtronic an even larger brand than what they already are. So they'll have to kind of implement Covidian's technologies into their current systems. They'll have, a variety of opportunities to improve on what they've already created, being that Covidian is in the same space, they're a rival, so a lot of the technologies that Medtronic currently has, Covidian has their own versions of it as well. So they'll be able to kind of take a look at what their competitor has been doing for a while, see if they can implement some of their best practices into what Medtronic is doing for a stronger product line in the future. This new merger will also provide a partnership and an opportunity for Medtronic to gain some entry into some countries and places that they haven't been before. So with the merger coming up, it'll kind of lead into their next piece of what their strategy is. Globalization. I know we've all heard this word before. A lot of us know and understand what it means and have dealt with it before in the past with other companies. We hear about it constantly. It's always in the news, and Medtronic is no stranger to globalization. So Medtronic is already the fourth leading supplier of medical technology and products in the world. So with this merger, they're going to become even bigger and expand even more globally. So this is a big piece to their globalization. With their headquarters, moving overseas, they'll be able to focus on emerging new markets, something that they may not have looked at as much in the past, but being overseas, being international, this will kind of allow them more entry into some of these countries in which they haven't penetrated as well as they would have liked. With the new merger, Medtronic will have a presence in 150 companies, which is huge for the company. Growing that market share, growing their revenue, growing their bottom line. As I mentioned previously, they're still bouncing back from the recession, so this definitely helps. With these emerging markets, we expect Medtronic to see exponential growth. The revenue should go up tremendously internationally and here domestically in the United States with the Affordable Care Act. So we'll definitely see how this globalization plays out, but it's definitely going to increase their revenue, and it should be a good sign for the company in the future.
So lastly, we have the economic value of Medtronic. So they're going to reap the benefits of a lower tax bill, being that they're moving their headquarters overseas. They won't have to pay domestic United States taxes. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Another thing that's been big for Medtronic is in the past year, their stock prices jumped approximately $20 a share. So They've done a good job in increasing their economic value and should be able to do that in the future. So that concludes our presentation on Medtronic. Thank you. Moving on to the recommendations, innovation is going to be key for Medtronic right now. Domestically in the United States, the Affordable Care Act is just getting implemented across the country, so Medtronic must do what it can as far as its technology is concerned to keep up with the demand with the increase in healthcare across the country. They should also devote a large portion of their resources that they're getting from Covidien in the merger to research and development. They have to continue to use that Covidien product line, improve upon it, and improve upon their own product line. So this is a good opportunity for Medtronic to kind of see what their competitors were doing, take from their ideas, and kind of fuse it into their own new technology. Another key recommendation for Medtronic is marketing. With this merger that's going to take place in 2015, Medtronic has to do a good job of pushing their brand out to past Covidien customers. So this is a good opportunity for them to beef up their current marketing department, maybe strengthen it a little bit with the employees that they gained from the Covidien brand. This merger is really going to make or break the company overseas. Medtronic has a bigger presence domestically in the United States, but with the emerging markets that they're gaining from the merger, they must excel in a lot of different areas. As I mentioned, customer service, price, technology are just a few of the areas that Medtronic has to do a good job in if they want to keep the current Covidien customers as well as continue to grow their market share overseas. So with those recommendations being said, marketing is going to be key for Medtronic in 2015. One of the bigger recommendations for Medtronic is an investment in their public relations department. The company has caught a lot of backlash since they announced that they'll be moving their United States headquarters overseas. Many have attributed this move to cutting their corporate tax bills. So they're going to have to bring back in their customers, let them know that, hey, we're still the same company. Don't let one strategic move for the company define how you feel about Medtronic as a whole. They should also offer some incentives to their shareholders, current shareholders, and potential shareholders. Give them a reason to invest in the company. It's going to be a lot larger. Things are going to be different. So give people a reason to want to spend their money with Medtronic. They should also attend as many trade shows and workshops as possible. That would be domestically and international. Medical technology is a growing field, so this is a good opportunity to get Medtronic's name out there, let people know, hey, we're still the same Medtronic. We're a little bigger, we're stronger, we have better technology. Let people know that we're still a good company. The last recommendation deals with the finances of Medtronic. So number one on that list is be loyal to your employees. Make your employees want to come to work every day, especially the new employees gained from the merger. Offer them competitive salaries. Offer them great benefits packages. Make them want to recommend Medtronic as a place to work for their friends and family. They must also invest more capital in their legal department. As you read earlier, Medtronic has had some issues with patent infringement in the past, and it's really going to hurt them in the future as far as them paying back those settlements to other companies. So beefing up the legal department, having strong lawyers, having a team that understands patents and looks at things to make sure that they're not infringing on the technology of competitors will be big, because the influx of medical technology is going to only grow. So the patents are going to get closer and closer and closer to being very similar. So Medtronic must invest a lot in its legal department to prevent things like this from happening in the future. Another thing that they must do is reduce the outsourcing of production and manufacturing. This will be big. They must become more vertically integrated, and hopefully that'll be the plan with the merger coming along. They can take some of the Covidien resources and maybe start building more of their technologies in-house. So that'll save them money and financial capital in the future, which they'll need for more research and more innovation. So hopefully that'll be a good set of recommendations for Medtronic.